custom funerals and cremation.
Julia and George, Michael and Whitney, and Raymond. Next ET.
A chance to get bin Laden. With the Taliban on the run, U.S. forces are hitting terror targets, and Afghanistan is a country changed overnight. A U.S. rescue mission saves 8 foreign aid workers, including 2 Americans, who were held by the Taliban. 60 Minutes 2 exclusive. The vice president says bin Laden's demise could lead to new terror attacks. And the Red Cross, under fire, now says, well, all September 11th donations will go to the victims.
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. Once again today, the pace of events in the war in Afghanistan outran the most optimistic expectations of U.S. military analysts. Tonight, there's strong indications, though no conclusive proof, that what was once a formidable Taliban army has virtually collapsed as a disciplined fighting force. Equally important for the U.S.-led war, terror mastermind Osama bin Laden and his followers apparently can no longer count on the Taliban for shelter or protection. CBS News broke the story tonight that 2 American women and 6 other foreign aid workers imprisoned by the Taliban for preaching Christianity are now safely out of Afghanistan. There's a lot going on. Our coverage of it begins with CBS's David Martin.
The pictures purport to show Taliban faithful rallying in their stronghold of Kandahar. But the latest U.S. intelligence estimate is that the Taliban controls only 10% of Afghanistan and has even begun abandoning Kandahar. Reports of what appears to be the Taliban's death spiral came as Defense Secretary Rumsfeld visited the rubble of the World Trade Center.
The Taliban is melting into the, some pieces of it are melting into the countryside. Part of it because they may have decided to toss in the towel.
Rumsfeld held out the possibility the Taliban could be regrouping for a counterattack. But with U.S. jets continuing to strike every target of military value, that was a fuel truck, a counterattack seems very unlikely. And the Taliban has to worry about more than just American planes. American commandos are hounding them from the ground.
They have been interdicting the main roads that connect the north from the south to see what's going on and to stop people that they think ought to be stopped.
Taliban soldiers can still put on a good show for the cameras, but they have been chased out of virtually every city. Their plan was to retreat to their heartland in the south, but the south is no longer a Taliban sanctuary.
I hope and expect that there will be a lot of activity by the tribes in the south who have not been supportive of the Taliban, and that they'll be encouraged to assert themselves and to take over.
If they haven't escaped across the border, Osama bin Laden and his top aides are surrounded and their chances of surviving dwindling.
Today, thankfully, they have far fewer places to hide and far fewer people who wish to protect them.
On Tuesday, an unmanned CIA drone armed with anti-tank missiles along with U.S. military jets attacked and destroyed a building where senior members of bin Laden's network were believed to be meeting. U.S. officials assume everyone in the building was killed, but they don't know their identities, don't know if bin Laden was among them.
Some have been killed, others are hiding, and there are no particular reports of senior leadership having been located.
And tonight, those 8 Western aid workers, including 2 American women, Heather Mercer and Dana Curry, held by the Taliban, are safe in Pakistan. Just a short time ago, a U.S. military helicopter flew them out of Afghanistan. They were held in this cell in Kabul on charges of preaching Christianity, but when the Taliban pulled out, the opposition forces were able to rescue them. U.S. officials have already talked to them by phone, and they are said to be in good condition. They will go first to a Pakistani military base, and from there to Islamabad, where their families are waiting. Defense Secretary Rumsfeld continues to caution that the war is by no means over. But at the very least, it seems Osama bin Laden's ability to use Afghanistan as a base for his terrorist operations has been badly crippled. And the Taliban has now contacted the U.S., asking for a reduction in the bombing in return for quote-unquote discussions about turning over bin Laden. Dan?
Live at the Defense Department, David Martin. For their part, Taliban leaders remain publicly defiant. In a statement to an Afghan news agency today, a Taliban spokesman said the movement's spiritual leader, Mullah Muhammad Omar, and his so-called guest, Osama bin Laden, are both, and I quote, safe and well. For most of the long-suffering residents of Kabul, the sudden departure of the Taliban and their suffocating rule could not have been a more welcome development. CBS's Laura Logan reports tonight from the Afghan capital on the dawn, for better or worse, of the post-Taliban era.
Dawn broke over a new day and a new reality in Kabul. The city now firmly in the hands of the United Front, also known as the Northern Alliance. They continue to patrol the capital, making their presence felt. These Taliban prisoners now reduced to human cargo, locked away in a metal box. But still, it's safer than being on the streets. For returning refugees, moments of pure joy. Many coming home to families they hadn't seen for 5 years or longer.
Our country is free from the Taliban.
Everywhere, signs of life returning to normal. Women, still mostly covered, walked without male escorts. This woman proudly showed her face. I've thrown away my burqa, she says, thanks to America. Already, the economy is reflecting the positive mood. This represents possibly the biggest vote of confidence the people of Kabul have made so far in the changes taking place in their city. The day before the Northern Alliance entered, the local currency, the Afghani, was worth 60,000 to $1 US. Today, it's doubled in value to half of that. But amidst the celebrations, signs of sadness. Reminders of the poverty and suffering still present. These buildings look like rubble, but to some Afghans, it's the place they call home. Women who once had jobs were reduced to begging in the streets, this woman says. We don't know what will happen next. There's still uncertainty. No one's sure the Taliban is gone for good, and no one knows what kind of government might replace them. Laura Logan for CBS News, Kabul.
Just as in Kabul, this was a day of transition in communities large and small throughout the rugged mountains and isolated valleys of northern Afghanistan. Tonight, CBS News correspondent Byron Pitts is about 150 miles north of the capital in the newly liberated town of Taliban.
It was the cool and comforting breeze of freedom that moved down Main Street, Taliban, Afghanistan this morning. Schools reopened. The music was back. The barbers were busy as more symbols of tyranny literally fell to the floor.
When the Taliban wasn't here, we weren't happy. Now we are happy.
So once again, Afghanistan is a nation in transition from the Taliban to the United Front. People here are accustomed to shifts in power. It is the unfamiliar face of peace they are looking for. But before there is peace, there will be punishment. This young Taliban soldier wept in his prison cell. He goes on trial in the morning. Many POWs are beaten or shot to death before they make it this far. Survivors locked in shipping containers like this one.
Will these prisoners be kept alive, or will they be executed?
We will put them on trial first, says the warden, leaving my question unanswered. There are still no defense lawyers in the new Afghanistan. Enemies are still dealt with in the old ways. And here, the old way is still the only way. Byron Pitts, CBS News, Taliban, Afghanistan.
Coming up soon tonight on 60 Minutes 2, Vice President Dick Cheney talks exclusively to CBS News special correspondent Gloria Borger about the war in Afghanistan, including the hunt for Osama bin Laden and the state of the Taliban.
I think they're in terrible shape, frankly. The military campaign, I think, has been enormously successful. We've seen them lose control over the vast part of Afghanistan. They controlled about 90% of it a couple of months ago. And today they've been driven out of most of the major cities. Their military capability also has been enormously affected. The air campaign that General Franks ran against the Taliban, I think, was devastating. But they're a far less formidable force today than they were.
Is your intelligence getting any better? about where Osama bin Laden is. Is he on the run?
I think he is. I think he's probably still in Afghanistan, but I think he's having to move pretty dramatically from place to place to try to stay ahead of the advancing forces of the opposition.
Has the likelihood of a new terror attack in this country increased or decreased, would you say, in the last couple of weeks?
There's no question about what the threat level is still pretty significant out there, especially if we come to the end of the road here for bin Laden in Afghanistan and we're successful in wrapping him up. That in and of itself could be a signal that would trigger some kind of a revenge attack, if you will, by people loyal to bin Laden.
Vice President Cheney also talked at length with Gloria Borger about his what are called unusual security arrangements and about his health during this stressful period. All of that and much more about the hunt for bin Laden are part of this exclusive 60 Minutes 2 interview that'll be on tonight at 8, 7 Central. The Bushes are having the Putins over for barbecue with a side order of personal diplomacy. With rain falling, President Bush and the First Lady took Russia's visiting first couple to their home in Crawford, Texas. They drove off in a pickup truck, President Bush behind the wheel, President Putin what Texans call the shotgun seat. Some welcome news late today for investigators trying to figure out why an American Airlines Airbus crashed on takeoff in New York this week. The flight data recorder, which was damaged in the crash, now has been repaired and is providing information. CBS's Bob Orr is on the case.
At the crash site, investigators are crawling through what's left of the burned-out jetliner and sorting small bits of wreckage into buckets, looking for any clue that might explain why American Airlines Flight 587 began falling apart in the air.
The forward section of the aircraft came down in this manner in this area.
Their primary focus is on this rear section of fuselage, where the vertical tail had been bolted to the airplane. It's clear in the wreckage that the fin was torn off above the attachment brackets, a catastrophic in-flight failure that doomed the plane. But investigators don't know why it happened. They do know the plane was in a climbing left turn when it was rocked by some kind of vibration, possibly from the wake of a larger 747 just ahead. There was a second vibration. The pilots added power. The sequence of what happened next is not known. But some investigators suspect the plane's tail broke off first. If that happened, they say, the plane would have wobbled uncontrollably, perhaps violently enough to knock the engines off the wings. And sources tell CBS News the engines did not break away as designed. In an extremely rare malfunction, an engine can separate from the end of its pylon to prevent damaging the aircraft. But both engines on Flight 587 broke off at the wings, a clear sign the plane encountered a force it was never designed to withstand. As large pieces of wreckage were being hauled away today, investigators were getting their first information from the plane's flight data recorder. They hope the recorder will explain how the jet could suffer an unprecedented breakup in less than 2 minutes at low altitude and low speed.
Veteran investigators say the crash may ultimately be traced back to some type of problem with the plane that was never detected in maintenance. But there's no evidence in the wreckage so far of any corrosion, cracks, or pre-existing damage. And at the same time now, American Airlines has begun a special inspection of the vertical fins and tail structures on all of its remaining Airbus A300s. Dan?
Bob Orr, live in Washington. Next on CBS, lifting the veil. After years of brutal treatment, many women of Afghanistan will not mourn the destruction of the Taliban.
Over the years, I've learned that when something works, you stick with it. There you go. After bypass surgery a few years ago, I needed to lower my cholesterol. My doctor told me about Zocor. He said Zocor, along with a healthy diet and exercise, could really lower my cholesterol. Okay, let's do it again. Taking Zocor every day has kept my cholesterol where it should be and significantly reduces the risk of heart attack among people with high cholesterol and heart disease. That's something to feel good about.
Zocor is a prescription medication and is not for everyone, including women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant, or people with liver problems. Your doctor may do blood tests to check for liver problems because serious side effects can result. Tell your doctor about any muscle pain or weakness you experience and about any medicines you are taking.
Good job! When diet and exercise aren't enough, ask your doctor about Zocor. Take care of yourself. It's your future. Be there.
Bringing together my loved ones' faces. 2 in college, 1 in braces. Holiday dishes aiming to please, but only one is hot and flaky, made with ease. Presents on the table, they're going fast. Grab one quick, they're gone in a flash. Looking around, it was all worthwhile. Leftovers, a table full of smiles. My heart to yours.
I'm every man.
And every woman who ever suffered from frequent, persistent heartburn.
If you've treated your heartburn and changed your diet, but it comes back 2 or more days a week, then you may know about the burning pain of acid reflux disease.
But there's something about acid reflux that I didn't know.
Over time, that acid churning up can wear away the lining of your esophagus.
I didn't know.
I didn't know.
I didn't.
But today, there's a purple pill called Nexium. It's from the makers of Prilosec. Just 1 prescription Nexium a day gives many people complete resolution of heartburn symptoms.
That could mean complete heartburn relief.
And importantly, Nexium is also proven to heal erosions in the esophagus caused by acid reflux. Only a doctor can determine if you have this damage. Other serious stomach conditions may still exist. The most common side effects of Nexium and Prilosec are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. So talk to your doctor and call this number for more information and for a free trial certificate for Nexium.
Relieve the heartburn, heal the damage. It's possible with today's purple pill called Nexium.
If Afghanistan is truly rid of the Taliban, Afghan women may permit themselves to hope for improved status under whatever new government emerges. That is far from guaranteed, given Afghanistan's recent history. But as CBS's Thalia Ashuris reports, it is difficult to imagine any regime making women's lives more miserable than they've been.
There will be no tears shed by Afghan women tonight for the retreat of the Taliban. Under Taliban rule, women have been banned from work and education, forbidden to appear in public except under the suffocating shroud of the burqa. Women have been imprisoned for showing their faces, flogged for laughing out loud, stoned to death for adultery.
Animals have more rights than women in Afghanistan. The people of
Tahmina Farial is in the United States to talk to Americans about the plight of Afghan women.
Women in Afghanistan, they had decent lives, they had hopes.
As a member of RAWA, the Revolutionary Association of the Women of Afghanistan, she says to show her face is to risk her life.
Ironically, the anonymity of the burqa has allowed RAWA members to take secret pictures like these of the atrocities committed by the Taliban.
Here, a woman is beaten for showing her face. In Kabul soccer stadium, this woman is executed to the cheers of thousands.
The Taliban regime is or was the most misogynist, anti-female regime in the world.
But many question whether life under the United Front will prove any different. They have triumphed before when they took over Kabul in 1992. The result for women, 4 years of systematic rape, abduction, and enslavement.
People of Afghanistan terrified that if once again they come to power, the same atrocities and crimes would happen.
You're saying they're just as brutal as the Taliban?
Yes, and in some ways worse.
Once the fighting ends, a number of factions are expected to cobble together a coalition government. Farial hopes women will be included.
Do you think Afghan women will be allowed at the table?
Afghan women can play a part and an important role, including women in the government.
But with members of the United Front, even former Taliban leaders likely to comprise the next government, a role for women is hardly a certainty.
Women do deserve a place at the table of governance in Afghanistan, and I'll be shocked if they get a place.
Even as women begin to be seen on the streets of Kabul, they can only hope their voices will be heard as well. Thalia Ashuris, CBS News, New York.
Americans are paying the lowest gasoline prices in 2 years, and they may go lower. OPEC said today it will scrap plans to cut oil production in January unless non-OPEC countries cut their production. Discounts, 0% financing, drove U.S. car sales up a record 26% in October, and that led to a record increase in retail sales overall, which sent stocks higher today. The Dow up 72, NASDAQ 11.
Just because you're strong doesn't mean you can't be gentle. That's also true of Imodium AD. Gentler than you thought, effective as you think.
If I had a man like Hefty,
He'd always be coming up with new ways to impress me.
Introducing Hefty the Gripper, the first kitchen bag with a stretch and grip top so it hugs the can and won't slip.
Oh, and he'd know how to hold on tight.
And he wouldn't cave under pressure. Nothing's made like the Gripper. It stretches, grips, and stays put so it can take it like a man.
And when I'm done with him, ciao, baby.
Bye-bye. So long. The Gripper. New from Hefty. The strong, dependable type.
Want to try that triple Lux?
What the heck? I got supplemental insurance.
What's that?
A what?
No, that something insurance.
Even the best insurance doesn't give you cash for things like lost pay and other expenses. This does.
What does?
Aflac. Ask about it at work.
It's LensCrafters' best $99 offer ever. Right now, get a complete pair of glasses with DuraLens, our most scratch-resistant plastic lens for only $99. The $99 DuraLens event. This is one you don't want to miss. Offer ends November 24th.
Ziploc containers, test number 3. With our new divided containers, a sandwich, salad, and brownie doesn't turn into a brownie salad sandwich. Ziploc, all you ever wanted in a container.
If your pencils look like mine did, there's something you can do. Ask your doctor if the Nicotrol inhaler is right for you. Or for more information, call 1-800-INHALER. Call today.
In Louisville, Kentucky, 2 pioneering patients who received the first self-contained mechanical hearts have suffered serious setbacks. The very first heart recipient, Robert Tools, had a stroke and is back on a ventilator just days after he felt well enough to eat out at a restaurant. The second, Tom Christensen, is, quote, extremely weak after high fevers. Doctors think the fevers may be a reaction to medication. Under heavy criticism, the Red Cross today reversed its policy on dispensing hundreds of millions of dollars it collected for victims of September 11th. As CBS's Lee Cowan reports, the Red Cross now says it recognizes that along with all that money, it raised a lot of questions and anger.
Out of all the concern over mail these days, the American public was perhaps angriest over the checks mailed from here, the American Red Cross.
The people affected by this terrible tragedy have been our first priority, and beginning today, they will be our only priority.
Today, under public pressure, the Red Cross promised to do what the public expected it to do: direct every penny donated to the victims of September 11th to them and them alone.
The American Red Cross is profoundly grateful for your generosity.
So many donated so much to the Red Cross it actually stopped asking for money. Out of the $543 million collected, $137 million has gone to the families. But the Red Cross also wanted to set aside $200 million for a future terrorist attack, a move that could soon leave the record-breaking fund almost broke.
That's not what the people opened their hearts and their wallets for.
It set Congress off like a rocket, and victims' families, too. For donors like Bonnie Marcus, she asked for her money back.
It's no longer carte blanche, and you can trust the Red Cross. No more.
Some felt victimized twice, like Vinnie Carla Agnello, who lost her husband Joe in the attacks. As much as she needed the money herself, she donated some to the Red Cross for others.
No, I felt bad because I felt that I had given that thinking in good faith it was going to reach those people, and then it wasn't.
People like Scarlett Mejia.
You worry because now you got to think about how you're going to pay rent.
Her father was killed in the kitchen of the Windows on the World restaurant. The Red Cross is her only hope. It expects to pay out $275 million by the end of the year. A little comfort for those where so little comfort remains. Lee Cowan, CBS News, New York.
I quit. Feeling lethargic.
I quit. Feeling bloated again and again.
It's time to quit. Quit the cycle of irregularity with Metamucil Daily Fiber Therapy. With Metamucil, you don't just get regular, you stay regular. Day after day, week after week.
I didn't just quit. I quit for good.
And you can, too.
Metamucil Daily Fiber Therapy. Get regular, stay regular.
It seems like only yesterday. When I started skating at 8 years old, I never thought I'd experience the thrill of winning a medal. With all the great memories has come another thing I thought I'd never experience, the pain of osteoarthritis.
Vioxx is here, a prescription medicine for osteoarthritis pain. With one little pill a day, Vioxx can provide powerful 24-hour relief. Vioxx specifically targets only the COX-2 enzyme, a key source of arthritis pain. People with allergic reactions such as asthma to aspirin or other arthritis medicines should not take Vioxx. In rare cases, serious stomach problems such as bleeding can occur without warning. Tell your doctor if you have liver or kidney problems. For more information, talk to your doctor about once daily Vioxx for the relief of osteoarthritis pain.
Perhaps my biggest victory is to be able to plan my day around my life instead of my pain.
Ask your doctor if Vioxx is right for you. Vioxx for everyday victories.
Freezing chicken? Only Ziploc double guard freezer bags have an inner layer that clings to seal out air that causes freezer burn. Regular freezer bags don't. Put an end to freezer burn with a Ziploc double guard freezer bag. Freezing steak? Only Ziploc double guard freezer bags have an inner layer that clings to seal out air that causes freezer burn. Regular freezer bags don't. Put an end to freezer burn with a Ziploc double guard freezer bag.
Pepperidge Farm Texas Toast.
Okay, I'll get the pasta bowl.
Hot, crusty garlic toast. Just 5 minutes to make. It's probably ready before you are. Pepperidge Farm. Never have an ordinary day.
Winter means flakes. We're not talking snow. We're talking winter dandruff. The colder it gets, the worse dandruff gets. Neutrogena T-Gel Intensive Anti-Flake Shampoo fights dandruff 3 ways. Stop winter dandruff. Neutrogena T-Gel. It works.
Fish out of water, too much rain, too fast, overflows northwest streams. The story tonight at 6.
We leave you tonight with a royal remembrance in London. Usually the Queen of England bestows the honors. Today, she received a badge of highest honor, the shield of New York City Police Detective Joseph Viggiano. Viggiano's family said they wanted to convey America's gratitude for the support of the British people. Both Detective Viggiano and his brother, John, a firefighter, died September 11th in New York's Lower Manhattan. The ties that bind a family, 2 countries, and a transatlantic friendship. Part of our world tonight. I'll be back shortly, prime time, on 60 Minutes, too.
The vice president talks about the Taliban on the run, the whereabouts of Osama bin Laden, and his own health. Plus, the air war at home. Scott Pelley flies with the people guarding the skies and guarding the president at 30,000 feet.
60 Minutes 2, tonight at 8, 7 Central. We invite you to join us then and again tomorrow for the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. I'll see you soon on 62.
It's important